Ruth, Ruth.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. Um, Full disclosure, I had no idea what the show was going into it. Completely blind. I feel like we all should go into more series and shows and movies blind about things. And I sort of have this weird sense memory, excuse me, um, feeling of I remember I was very I hate to say obsessed with the movie The Magdalene Sisters.
hmm hmm
I made my father drive me an hour
Mm.
away to go see it, and I feel like this story, The Woman on the Wall, there's a real presentness to it. It really scared me on a lot of levels with a lot of I don't know, like fanaticism and people being so blinded by faith. It really, really freaked me out. Um, that's not really a question or anything. That's just sort of
Oh,
an observation. Um, I guess,
yeah.
um, I guess in terms of horror, um, I think we sort of take for granted that the genre of horror is one of the most emotionally immediate mediums that there is. And I think The Woman on the Wall does a really beautiful job of introducing um, horror elements like that horror fans would be interested in with such an incredibly emotional, powerful, true life story. And I guess I wanted to know as an actor and a producer, like, I don't say like what excited you about that, but like,
Well, like you
yeah.
say, it felt very unique to me.
Hmm.
One that when this script came through, it was one pilot, and it felt really different. I didn't quite know where it was going, and
Hmm.
but it was a page turner.
Yeah.
Um, and I knew the subject matter. I knew a bit about the subject matter, but not that much. I'd like you seen Magdalene Sisters and seen Philomena, but I
Hmm.
didn't know the depth and scale of this, and I didn't really know half as much as I do now.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a vital, important story to get out there. But I loved that he was playing with genre, and
Hmm.
I also thought it's really smart to place this in psychological horror. I mean,
Hmm.
there were horror tropes, but also it was the way we were going to shoot it was through it's psychologically horrifying for these women what they went
Yeah.
through. It's a trauma that they have all experienced and live with every day of their lives.
Hmm.
And to be gaslit by the institution, by that whole nation that were all under the power of the church,
Hmm.
and your very parents are being gaslit. Everyone, your experience has been denied you. I think that
Yeah.
is horrifying. And your identity for a woman like that, how do you even know anything really happened? Was it really, did she have a child? Did that even happen?
Hmm.
She was with her child for literally 30 seconds and the child's taken away. So how can you live? You're a mother, but you've never experienced being a mother. You have that image, you think you know there's a child out there, but how can you really be sure? They
Yeah.
say the child's dead. You're not sure. It's like, so I think that sense what you were saying about the idea of there's something palpable about not knowing or an unease of a disconcerting nature of something that's not complete or it's not fulfilled or there's something unknown um, that you're struggling to discover. There's a sort of black hole vacuum at the center of something. And that's kind of what
Hmm.
the show did. It kind of is finding that they're all on unsteady ground. And she is certainly. So the way we wanted to shoot it with Lorna is that to be you're psychologically in her trauma. And
Hmm.
in that first episode, we wanted to get the sense of the audience sort of being with her.
Yeah.
You- You're with someone who's potentially a killer.
Hmm.
And that's also what was really interesting. Like you see her put someone in the wall at the end, and you
Yeah.
think she killed this woman,
Hmm.
and so you're in the mind potentially of the killer, but she's also a woman who's deeply traumatized. So it was really unusual and really challenging to sort of work out how to do that,
Yeah.
and how to get the audience on side of this character, and how to empathize with her as well as sort of wonder whether she's actually a killer. And that was really fascinating chat. It's like Iago, you're like with Iago.
Mhm.
So I was thinking, wow, this is, and then of course you realize she's not and she is innocent, but you need to put those doubts in the audience's mind. So
Oh yeah.
that
Oh
was, yeah,
yeah. I felt like the whole time it's kind of insanely unique how you as an audience member are watching it and you sort of have to tell yourself, I have to go moment by moment and sort of stack up the actions of a lot of the characters.
yeah,
And it's sort of, I don't know, we are sort of, I don't like when people talk about, like likability or like, well, this person does this, so naturally they're this. I think that is so silly when you have such material like this. It's so meaty and gorgeously and terrifyingly shot. Like there is,
yeah,
you say in there with the into Lorna's trauma, I felt like at times like itchy, uneasy. There was a point where I think my husband was just like, "You need to like sit down," because I kept getting up and like walking around, and I just felt like I was being cornered almost. It was really a weird, unique experience.
yeah. Well, I
Um,
think she's sort of suffocated. She's inside
mm,
that. Imagine being inside that sort of when you're triggered all the time, or
mm,
and then and just the loss, just the knowing that you have a child out there,
mm,
and you sort of know that that child is alive, and yet people tell you they're not. Or I just think if mother's instinct, mother's intuition, or it must be horrifying.
yeah,
So and the shame that's built around that. I mean, that's also what we wanted to deal with as well. The shame of this. That's how people keep silent, is by making them feel it's their fault.
mhm,
Um, so I wanted to sort of trace how Lorna went from someone who was living with deep shame, was kind of cutting herself from the potential of any intimacy. I do not want people to hurt me again, so I'm going to
mhm,
block the walls. I'm going to stick to myself. I'm going to keep myself away, separated, isolated. People
mhm.
can think I'm weird, whatever,
Right.
like fine.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's
then you want to see her grow throughout the show to become someone that needs the help of those women, that starts connecting with those women that also have
mhm,
gone through the same experiences as her. But also, she starts having agency and fighting and using her voice in a way to get to the truth and to fight
mhm.
for the truth. So you see her sort of coming out of her shell, you see her demanding, and you see her actually feeling like she's got nothing left to lose,
Yeah.
and so what? And I loved that turn in her. I loved her becoming actively fighting for something, rather than hiding away and being ashamed of her experience and what she might have done.
Yeah, about like halfway through when she sees the death certificate and then the whole show is just like, we're
Yeah,
just gonna change course completely. There is sort of a very at first very faint flickering light in her and it grows and it grows. And I love the way that the scripts and the direction and the performances between you and Daryl evolve. Like sort of just thinking about them in the car together talking about everything that's going on. I was like, this is miles and years away from where these two characters have met before. And I think that is incredibly satisfying to watch.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, that was the fun. Also, is that you know the play of may she be his mother? That always felt a bit
mm-hmm,
cliched and a bit obvious for us. So no, but yes, they are the yin and yang, or they're the missing part of each other. So
mm,
there's something that he's drawn to her for that reason. She's sort of drawn to him for that reason, and they come together and they help each other find,
yeah,
fill each other's missing parts. But that was always beautiful, that connection of those two characters. They come together and they end up supporting each other in their fight for the truth.
yeah, I love that a lot. I wanted to ask about Lorna's relationship with Amy.
Hmm.
Um, I love how, not love, but I mean, there's something that I latched onto. I think it's in the first episode whenever the group is having a discussion. They're sitting in a room and Lorna sort of, she feels like she physically can't go into that space, or maybe she's like pushing herself. She's like, I'm not going in there. I'm not gonna get into this. And then just the relationship between these two women, um, I don't know, a lot of characters talk about Amy, they talk about her anger a lot, and then Massey talks about Lorna a lot in sort of a pitying way. And I
Mhm.
feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's like an invisible thread between the two of them. And I guess I wanted to know what your thoughts on that were.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, one, Hilda, who plays
Oh
Amy,
my
is
God, she's
amazing.
brilliant. Oh,
And every time she came on set, I loved working with her
mm-hmm.
because it was so febrile and volatile and real, and the two of us could just spark. And I was like, right, every time she's in a room, we can just. And I think that that's what you're also noticing on the screen is probably our chemistry as
Yeah.
actors, wanting to play with each other. And you can't help but be real with her. You can't
Mm-hmm.
help but everything is sort of firing. So I I adored working with her. And I think those threads are true. These are two women that, every other woman in there. I mean, there's Clemence as well, but she dies early on, but there's the others don't have the same experiences as what her and Amy or what she and Amy have gone through. So and obviously it's revealed later what Amy did go through, and that her baby, died there and then. So I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a secret that she holds from Lorna, but they have a shared history. And I think this is it's something that's so I'm sure these dynamics do exist. I mean, of course, it's like some of this is fictional, but the sort of thing of a shared experience, sometimes it's really hard to be in the same room with someone. It's like traumatic
Mm-hmm.
to have been, you both witnessed something and were part of something quite horrifying, to
Mm-hmm.
then actually have to talk to each other about that. It's virtually impossible later
Mm-hmm.
on. Like, how can you be friends
Yeah.
when you haven't reconciled it in yourself yet, or the world hasn't done that yet for you, or there's still, I don't know how you can possibly sort of just get on. So I think that sort of friction between them and kind of, but empathy, essential empathy and understanding is what makes that dynamic really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I love how I didn't know that where that was going to end that relationship. And actually, in an original script, Joe had Massey like punching Amy's kind of guy, the guy
Mm-hmm.
who had, and I was like, it's got to be Amy.
Yeah.
Please make Amy. I don't want a man saving the day, but also just she's got so much fight in her. Let her
Mm-hmm.
smack him in the face. And actually, um, and then also can it'd be lovely to have a reconciliation between Lorna and Amy in that moment too. So we
Mm-hmm.
can sort of finalize their storyline and make sure that Lorna understands her in a different way. Um, so I always think that Amy was kind of wanting to reach out to Lorna, and Lorna just put blanks on her. But
Mm-hmm.
until Lorna had heard that story and saw sort of really what had happened to Amy, she was then able to kind of lean out to her and connect.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I'm glad that that was changed. I feel like I would not believe that Amy would let anybody fight, fight for her at
No,
all. So,
and it felt
yeah.
so wrong. I think they wanted Massey to have his moment of
Hmm.
kind of, getting his own back. But I was like, no, 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 it's got to be the women.
Yeah.
Has to be the women. So
Yeah.
I mean, it was great that we were all collaborative in that, and we were working those scripts as the thing was moving
Hmm.
and as we were shooting. Um, and it was great that Joe was really collaborative, and it was wonderful that we had also female directors that also were kind of keeping eyes on the female story, because essentially for me those scenes with the women
Hmm.
were always the most powerful for me and why we were doing it. So
Yeah.
they were the most important scenes to get right and to keep serving and keep bringing those stories back in, because that's what we all respond to, and what we want to be put in.
Yeah. It's sort of like just seeing all of the women, if you're in a space together or you're in the frame together, I think me immediately piques my interest because you all look so different, and then so my brain then automatically goes, so all their experiences are completely different. They're all, they're different ages, maybe some are similar to age than others, but then it's just sort of reinforces just the sort of longevity of this gaslighting and lying and
Yeah.
violence. Yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah,
generations of
yeah,
women that have been put in those same circumstances, and also how the different women had different generations have dealt with it, or
mm-hmm,
how they processed it. They kind of, it's really fascinating. Of course, what was so telling to me, the thing I didn't realize was how recent history this was. Like I didn't
yeah,
realize these places only closed, very recently.
that's
Uh,
insane.
in my living memory, when I
Mm-hmm.
was that age, at age 16, they were still open. So I was like, this is
Wow.
mad that this was happening to women of who are now my age.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I couldn't get my head around that. So it was, when I first read it, I thought it was a gothic horror from the 1950s. No,
Yeah.
no, and so I think it's really important us to saying that this is recent history, and it's still, people are still dealing with the consequences of that now.
Yeah, I think that line in the script was like the Macarena was still on the fucking
Yeah,
radio. Like, and I was like, even I don't know. I think in '96 I would have been, I think 12. So it was sort of like I
yeah.
would, yeah. It's just mind-boggling. Um, I guess just before I let you go, this isn't necessarily a question, but I did want to say I'm a big nerd in terms of I always wonder where a lot of characters, not where they go, but I mean, like, I think about them a lot after I finish something. And I, there's something about the thought of Lorna, in custody, in a confined space where she can't run away. And, but knowing that she knows that her daughter is out there and maybe she can communicate with her again. There's something, I don't know, something about the containment, but the idea of freedom or communication. I can't really articulate it, but I think that really has stuck with me since I watched the show. And
I
the
think there's something
yeah.
in, I mean, I always felt that, yeah, once she had a sort of safety, because I think what drives people mad is the not knowing and the absence of someone,
Hmm.
and the kind of fact that the whole nation and people around her were lying to her or telling her a different story.
Hmm.
And in her heart, she knew that something wasn't right. So the not knowing can make you go mad. And I think that
Yeah.
once she has that knowledge that her daughter is alive and is okay, she can sort of relax. But I also think, she's someone that's been institutionalized. She
Hmm.
was a kid that then went into this place and was, so there's some safety in small space. There's
Hmm.
some safety in routine. There's some safety in getting your meals at the right time of the day and
Yeah.
having, so I sort of feel in some ways she's going to be okay. She's going to be
Yeah.
all right in there. And she'll, and I think it was right. There was a question about, I love that bit. I thought it was really important. The last line, we had a discussion about what she says to Daryl's character when he says that you can say, you can claim madness or insanity.
Hmm.
We can. And I said, she can't, like the whole thing, Joe, is about this idea that of being mad.
Hmm.
And she has to sort of go, no, I'm not mad. I want to prove I'm not mad.
Hmm.
Like I know that means that I have then killed this woman, or but I can't say I'm mad. It means it undermines everything. And that's
Yeah.
all I have left is my sort of sanity. And I was right from the beginning, and this did, I'm not wrong. So I felt that was really important that she owns that. And that means that she does done something wrong. She has killed someone, admittedly by mistake, but she needs to then um, you know, confess and you can go back, it's all the religious terms, but she needs to
Yeah.
sort of do her penance for that. So I think it all felt quite, I quite like that end for her.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
worried. There was like a split second where I thought that I don't know what part of me was just like, okay, I was like, don't do it. Because then, and then I kept thinking for some reason of the townspeople maybe talking about Lorna maybe years from now. And I was like, that
Yeah.
can't be her ending. That can't
No,
be how they talk about her.
no.
Yeah, okay.
Did you like the Sinead O'Connor song that we have at the
Oh
end?
my God. I think that murdered me. That killed me so much. I was not expecting that at
No,
all. Oh, it was lovely. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ruth. I'm a big fan in general, so thank you.
Yeah, it's
And
a
I
real
just,
pleasure meeting you.
yeah, you too. And I can't wait for, this awards circuit thing. The great thing about it is it puts eyes on a lot more things. So I'm
Yeah,
telling everyone about it. So
good. Please do.
yeah,
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 get out there.
yeah. Thank you
Thanks,
for your
Joe.
time and have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.